Coming up on the Aaron Harber Show.
The national debt now exceeds $16 trillion.
You better start paying attention. Anyone in the range of my voice.
Should we be concerned about that number?
The fiscal path that America is on today is simply not sustainable.
Some saying we're headed towards fiscal disaster.
We don't have a sustainable situation when our debt is growing faster than our economy year after year, as far as you can see.
Others saying it's really simply a matter of accounting and there's really not that much to worry about.
We had a candidate in my party who said the debt means nothing. Well, I tell you, gang, it means something to the guy that's owed the money.
Why do we need a $1.3 trillion deficit to keep ourselves from going into another recession? What is fundamentally broken? Because if we could fix that, we'd be growing again.
What should the size of government be?
We want lots more from our government than we have been willing to pay for.
Do you think it's really reasonable that the U.S. can remain the world's largest economy?
And if debt keeps rising, the interest rates on U.S. government debt will start rising.
We're running out of money. Now we got to start thinking. We got to make choices, the hard choices.
Let me tell you, you better be paying attention. These old coots will take care of themselves, and they don't care about you. Get in the game, because you're going to take part or get taken apart.
Welcome to the Aaron Harber Show. Today's guests include
Erskine Bowles, the co-chair of the National Commission on Fiscal Responsibility and Reform, the former Chief of Staff for the White House,
with
Senator Al Simpson, the co-chair of the National Commission on Fiscal Responsibility and Reform,
and
Professor Peter Morisi, Dr. Alice Rivlin, Bill Spriggs, Marty Regalia, and Chris Edwards.
And now, here's Aaron Harber.
Welcome to the Aaron Harber Show. I'm your host, Aaron Harber, and I'm honored today to have Erskine Bowles and Al Simpson joining us to talk about some of the most significant challenges facing the United States of America. Please let me introduce Erskine Bowles.
Thank you. So I'm glad to be here at George Washington. I'm proud to be on Aaron's show. The arithmetic proves it. That the fiscal path that America is on today is simply not sustainable. And if you ask Al or me to give you an analogy, I would tell you that these trillion-dollar deficits, they're like a cancer, and they are going to destroy this country from within if we don't pull together. There are 5 principal reasons that we have the problems we have today. And if any politician, Republican or Democrat, comes and talks to you about anything else, they're just not being straight with you. This is what is real. The first biggest challenge that we face, by far this is our biggest challenge, is health care. We spend today in this country twice as much as any other developed country in the world on health care. And that's true whether it's as a percent of GDP or on a per capita basis. And you know, that might be all right if our outcomes were twice as good as any other country. But they're not. We rank somewhere between 25th and 50th in such important measures as life expectancy, preventable death, infant mortality. And any of you who don't think those 32 million people who don't have health care insurance don't get health care, you're just wrong. They get health care. They just by and large get it in the emergency room, where it costs 5 to 7 times the amount it does in the doctor's office.
Forget whether you call it Obamacare or Elvis Presley care, I don't care. It can't work because you don't need charts. Here it is, very simple. You're going to take care of pre-existing conditions of a person who's 3 years old who lives to be 60. One person in the United States weighs more than the other two. That's a statistic. And then you have a wonderful situation where a guy could buy this building with his jack, and he gets a heart operation for $200,000 and he doesn't even get a bill. Who's asleep? Who can believe that this will work? And there's not one thing in any bill that has any sensible cost containment whatsoever unless it's down the road. And down the road, they will never pass it. They will kick the can. Unfortunately, the can now, it looks like a 55-gallon drum instead of a can.
In the United States, we spend about 18 or 19% of GDP on health care. In Germany, they spend 12. In Japan, it's about the same. We have to ask ourselves, how are we so mismanaging this system that we're spending 50% more? They have everybody insured, we don't. They have better outcomes than we do. You know, how is that happening? And now when you say that, you have to remember also that 55 cents of every healthcare dollar is spent by the government. If we could solve that public-private problem, then we could start to address some other difficulties. To deal with this blob inside the government called healthcare, this ever-increasing share of the pie at the federal level and even for county governments, everything else is getting squeezed out. You know, one of the things is universities are very underfunded these days because they've had to be cut to accommodate health care. Our investments in research and in development have been curtailed to accommodate this. We don't really have a space program to speak of anymore to accommodate this. Even if we could agree on the appropriate size of government, unless we do something about health care, we're never going to be able to balance the budget, we're never going to be able to grow and compete, and we're never going to have the money we need to make the investments that you're always talking about.
There's more of the Aaron Harber Show after this. Coming up next.
What do we want from the Department of Defense?
We want to be able to secure ourselves, and that means to deal with things like terrorism, to be able to counter aggression against the United States.
Can you do that for $400 billion?
I don't think you can and have the kind of Navy you need. That's my bottom line.
Okay, and I would say you don't know.